Welcome to After the Bell here on NoDQ.com. Thank you guys for watching this week. A lot of ground to cover. I've got over 20 questions, actually 25 questions from you guys this week, as well as the news story of the week. We'll start with that. Of course, it happens right after Aaron and I film, which it didn't impact our prediction shows for either show, really. But it always happens when after Aaron and I film, the news story breaks. Recently, we had Brock Lesnar fail his drug test after I finished taping After the Bell on Talk Wrestling, of course. And now we have this news story it was broken Wednesday that both Alberto Del Rio and his girlfriend Paige have been suspended for 30 days, allegedly for their violation of the first violation of the WWE Wellness Policy. I find it very suspect that both of them at the same time were pinged. Could it be there's more to it than this? Could it be that the drama that unfolded recently in Vegas is something to do with what's going on with Paige right now? I'm not going to speculate too much because I don't want to get her mom pissed at me, because her mom has been very vocal about the fact that she's been injured and that's why she's been gone. But here we are. She's suspended for 30 days now. So what has been happening with Paige and Alberto Del Rio? Alberto Del Rio was just on SmackDown this past week, losing to John Cena in a decent match for both guys. But Alberto, since he returned to WWE, other than defeating John Cena for the United States Championship at Hell in a Cell, his return has been very underwhelming the last almost the entire year he's been back, really. Let's be brutally honest. And now here he is on suspension for a month, and same with his girlfriend Paige. Very sad to see both of them get this kind of punishment laid down on them, but it is what it is. You can't don't do the crime, you can't do the time, I guess. Before we get to your questions, last week at this time, or actually a few days before this time last week, I put up a poll on my Twitter asking you, because I've always wondered this from you, the guys, because I have my own opinion. Which of the two matches the Ultimate Warrior was in at WrestleMania was his greatest match? Was it WrestleMania 6 versus Hulk Hogan, or was it WrestleMania 7 versus the Macho King, Randy Savage? With 77 votes tabulated over the course of 7.5 days, overwhelmingly margin, 2/3, not 2/3, 3/5, yeah, 2/3, 66. I can do math, really, I'm okay. 60% of you said Macho King's match, 40% said the Hulkster's match. I'm not really surprised at this. I've seen both matches many times. As a matter of fact, WrestleMania 7 was the first ever WWF pay-per-view I ever watched on pay-per-view. I was at my aunt's house in Palmdale. We were loving the show, and then it cut out during the Hogan Slaughter feed. So, yeah, bummer. But I did see the Macho King's retirement match against the Ultimate Warrior, and it was easily the Warrior's best outing. Warrior has been recently deemed a heroic figure the last 2 years since his passing after his Hall of Fame induction. But I will always remember Warrior as the guy who made business hard for everybody else and always was in it for himself and himself first before he seemed to have reformed at the end. And people can change, and that's awesome, and I hope he did. I hope for his widow and his daughter's sake that he was a good man, and he seemed like he was a good man outside of the ring. But when it came to doing business, Warrior was about Warrior. And the fact that it took two of the greatest of all time, Hulk Hogan and the Macho King Randy Savage, to draw out an awesome match. Now, people pointed out to me that I forgot to mention Rick Rude in this poll because they didn't have a WrestleMania match. And that's true. Rick Rude and Ultimate Warrior had an unbelievable feud that lasted well over 2 years, if you count the Intercontinental Championship battles and the WWF Championship battles. But, I feel that his best match that he ever had was against Randy Savage at WrestleMania 7. And that's just maybe a personal bias because WrestleMania 7 is my first WrestleMania, my first pay-per-view. And I've always had a soft spot for Randy Savage, especially when he was on Extreme Mayhem back in 2003. So for me, maybe it's just personal bias, but that's just my opinion. What do you guys think? You know the results. There it is, right there. You can kind of, there we go. There it is, right there. That's what it says. is the poll right? If you didn't vote, why didn't you vote? But what do you think? Let me know. All right, on to your questions. First one today comes from Mike at PunkFan123. What is the best and worst match you've seen live in person? Before I get to the best, the worst is really relative because people can go to a PWG show or an EWF show or any independent show or any WWE show or WCW, ECW, whatever you want to call it, and see the same match, and one person will think it's completely garbage. The other person will think it's the best thing they've ever seen in their life. For me, I saw some pretty awesome matches that were later deemed crapfests. Likewise, I saw some pretty shit-tastic matches that were deemed 5-star by Meltzer or whoever. So, worst is really hard to define for me because I've seen so many matches over the years that the worst, luckily for me and my 33-year-old memory, does not stick out. The best I ever saw live, however, is an easily answered. It's a two-parter because there's two distinct matches I saw live that both completely took my breath away. The first one was in 2004 at Turning Point, TNA, Orlando, Florida, the Impact Zone. It was America's Most Wanted versus Triple X. 6 sides of steel, losing team disbands. I will never, ever forget being in the balcony seats of the Impact Zone, sitting next to Aaron and SoCal Val, as Elix Skipper tightrope walked the top of the cage and did the Hurricane Rana on, I believe it was Storm. Don't quote me. I'll have to watch it again because I don't remember. Now I say, oh, don't forget. I don't remember that part, of course. But that whole match defined those 4 guys at that point. And it really set the stage for what TNA had become and would continue to become in growing years as they developed their identity away from WWE, apart from the sports entertainment world, if you will, of WWE. The other match I saw was only seen by a few people in a little sweat box of a gym in Hollywood, California. Also on DVD if you order Jason Takes PWG from May of 2005, because you saw, like I saw, a 1-hour draw between PWG champion, the phenomenal AJ Styles, and TNA X Division champion, again I say, Christopher Daniels. These two guys were, at that point, in my humble opinion, the two best pure, those two and Bryan Danielson, let me be honest, let me be clear, were the two best wrestlers in the independent game / TNA at that time. Those guys could wrestle anybody. They just happened to wrestle each other, and it was magic. Couple of questions from Hot Rod Todd at Hot Rod Todd 8484. He gave me a fantasy scenario first off. He said, thoughts on this fatal 4-way tag team match. Hart Foundation versus Harlem Heat versus the Hardy Boys versus American Alpha. What's funny is you've got 2 teams that were technical wizards against 2 teams that were pretty much a team that's been deemed spot monkeys, although now they're just out of their mind now on TNA. And then you got American Alpha, who has been the greatest technical team since the world's greatest tag team of Haas and Benjamin. I would love to see in their prime Brett and the Anvil against Booker T and Stevie Ray against Matt and Jeff against Jordan and Gable. It would be awesome. It would be a great fatal 4-way. But having said that, I'm not a fan usually of fatal 4-ways or triple threats or 6-pack challenges or 5-way scrambles, whatever the hell you want to call it. I like 1-on-1 and 2-on-2. So maybe that's the old school technical guy in me. I did like the TLC matches, but only to a point. So little bit too much sauce on the goose, if you will, and stuff like that when it comes to overbooking tag team matches and overbooking things of that nature. Let's see. The other one, my thoughts on Eugene's run in WWE. I seriously can't believe he had matches against Triple H and Kurt Angle. I made it clear a long time ago. It may have been on XMV. It may have been on Talk Wrestling. I don't remember now. but I was not a fan of the Eugene character simply because they made fun of those who are mentally challenged. And I take deep offense to that because I have more than a few people that are very close to me that have mental deficiencies, and I hold them near and dear to my heart. And for WWE to exploit that and make light of it was complete bullshit. It was horrible, and I know it's just entertainment. I know it's just thing. I should just not be offended, but you know what? I get offended sometimes. And that's just who I am. I didn't like the Eugene character at all. I thought it was horrible. All right, David Anderson. You asked me about 3,000 questions this week between last week's taping and this week's taping. So I'll get to as many as I can here that are relevant. You basically asked me two questions about the Wyatt family, about Bray Wyatt, excuse me. You're wondering why he hasn't been champion yet. He's the most talented guy on the roster. How can they waste such a special talent when it comes along once in a lifetime? I mentioned on that for the bill I was going to talk about Bray Wyatt because of this question, David, so thank you. I don't know why they waste Bray Wyatt, and for me, that's hard to say because for the longest time, I thought Bray and Husky Harris before him, it was very sloppy in the ring, very untalented in the ring, and he's proven me wrong. He's come back from injury and come back from hiatus better than ever, quicker than ever, slicker than ever, and they don't use him right. He should be champion. I get that it's a gimmicky character, and that's fine, but now they've broken him away, it seems, from Eric Rowan. Maybe they'll have him be a serious contender to whoever emerges from this weekend as champion. It'll be cool to see. Let's see. Would I like to see a Samoa Joe versus Bobby Roode feud before Joe goes to the main roster? No. Samoa Joe represents the guys that came into NXT in the last year going into this year, and he will be the guy that transitions to the main roster pretty soon. Bobby Roode's the new influx. And plus, Bobby Roode stays, James Storm is coming again, it looks like. So maybe we'll have beer money in NXT. Maybe not call beer money because they probably can't, but it'd be cool to see Roode and Storm re-team. Last question I'm going to use from David is Bayley versus Sasha, main event at WrestleMania. Your thoughts? That would be something if we had the women's division close the show. I personally don't think it'll happen. I know on WWE 24 they talked about that that is a goal for them, and I just realized as I said that I didn't mention WWE 24 on After the Bell. WWE 24 Women's Evolution was unbelievable. You guys gotta pause me right now. I'll wait. Okay, so you watched WWE 24 Women's Evolution, and was it not incredible? I thought it was freaking awesome. It was so good. Go and watch it again if you didn't watch it when I paused a second ago. Go watch it again. But main event in WrestleMania, don't know. Probably not. Probably not. This is from Ty Marshall. Do you think the Rey Mysterio Guerrero feud was disturbing when they brought in Dominic in the picture? Yes. I have heard more than one person say that feud, and that feud alone, is what turned them away from watching sports entertainment, professional wrestling full time. They just were sickened by the whole implication of Eddie Guerrero being Dominic's father and the whole custody battle storyline. It was so bad and so in poor taste that people just retreated in droves from wrestling. It was horrible. Very, very badly done. Let's see. Iron Claw 30. Hey, Jeff, I'm a fan. Thank you. 2 questions. Favorite Bret Hart moment in match? Same goes for Shawn Michaels. My favorite match of both of theirs is easily the Iron Man match at WrestleMania 12. I'm not a fan of their Montreal match, obviously, for obvious reasons. But I like the Iron Man match. I like their Intercontinental Championship matches in 1992. I love their Survivor Series match for the WWE Championship at Survivor Series 1992. And favorite moment for both of them, their Hall of Fame inductions, because they both earned it. They both really worked their asses off night in, night out, year in, year out to get there. And it was awesome to see both of them go up on that stage and get their Hall of Fame rings and their little plaques if they got plaques that year. It was awesome. Let's see. I'm not going to use that one. May Floydweather and Beast Slayer. I seriously, one about Brock at the Rumble facing Reigns again, and Mark, your question about the beneficiaries of the brand split. It's really a tell as far as the brand split. I think I answered your question, Beast Slayer, on a previous show, so we'll go ahead and move on from there. Couple questions from. Sorry about your name, Sam. I can't say it. Swan Paboon. Did you watch Joey Styles' interview from WWE Facebook page? He said something from the interview that's why he got fired. I had not watched that yet. But I heard he's very outspoken against the chairman and against the WWE Universal Championship name. Probably why he got canned. Wouldn't surprise me at all. I like Joey, but I like Joey the announcer. Joey the media guy at WWE.com, and Joey the host of the Warehouse Show, and Joey the guy that is able now to speak it on Twitter. I like Joey Styles, ECW announcer better. That's probably going to get me heat with Joey, but I prefer that Joey, and that's sorry. Sam, another question he sent in just about 10 minutes ago. Will you go to WrestleMania 33 in Orlando? How will I get second row seats on the floor? Because I always get almost upper deck seats for WrestleMania events. I went to Miami, New Orleans, and Dallas. You need to have buku bucks to afford floor seats for WrestleMania. I'm talking like literally in the $1,000-ish range. That's how expensive it is. I always sit upper deck for WrestleMania. I sat in the 400 level at the Arrowhead Pond of Anaheim for WrestleMania 2000, and then I sat in the cheap seats at the Citrus Bowl last time it was at WrestleMania. WrestleMania was there. Last time it was there. So, good luck, Sam. If you can get tickets for cheap on the floor, more power to you. This is from the Posh Scotsman at C Hunter 1987. Do you think a Kurt Angle versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania match would be epic? Really would be Suplex City. It's happened. WrestleMania 19. They faced off in Seattle for Kurt Angle's WWE Championship. Brock Lesnar almost killing himself with the shooting star press and still managed to regain the championship from Kurt Angle that night. Nowadays, I don't know if Kurt Angle is physically up for a WrestleMania caliber match with Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar is still a beast at however old he is now. And Kurt Angle is more beat up than he's ever been. That's why he's taking this time off here and there from TNA. So for me, I would not want to see a rematch unless they could turn back the clock about 10 years or so for both of them in their body shape. 2 questions from Mr. Yuck today. Please elaborate on the lack of managers, valets in WWE. Stars with poor promo skills sure can use the help. It's been said that Mr. McMahon does not like the manager role anymore. He did when he was booking in the 80s because you had Fuji and Albano and Bobby and Sherry Martel and all these different people. But now it's more of Vince wants his talent to rely more on themselves to get over. Yes, Brock Lesnar has Paul Heyman, but Brock Lesnar is a special talent, and Brock Lesnar doesn't need to talk to get himself over. Brock Lesnar's over because he's Brock fucking Lesnar. It's as simple as that. And Paul Heyman only adds to the aura of the beast. I miss managers WWE, but I also like the fact that people can talk for themselves now, don't need the mouthpiece necessarily. I think that's awesome. Mr. Yuck also says, what superstars past would you have liked to have seen as champion? Owen Hart, Dave Boy Smith, Ravishing Rick Rude, Roddy Piper. Those 4 guys I always put on my list as guys that were never world champion that damn well should have been. They got screwed royally out of being champion in their primes, and now all 4 of them actually are passed away. Piper just recently, within the last year. So, sucks. Let's see. This is from Jishnu Vijayan. I'm sorry about that on your name. I can't pronounce names. Do you expect the Cruiserweight division to impact the ratings when they debut? Yes, I do. I think they're going to be the car crash of Monday Night Raw, much like they were of Monday Nitro for Eric Bischoff. That'll be cool. And my thoughts on Tajiri. I love Tajiri. I think he's great. He's still great. You saw him in the Cruiserweight Classic, the first 2 rounds. He still can go at whatever it is, 46 years old, 45 years old. Guy's a stud. He's been wrestling for 23 years. He wrestles like he's a 23-year-old now. Guy's unbelievable. He can still move. He's great. Another question from Ty Marshall that I didn't put together like I usually do. Do you think the Pillman's Got a Gun segment is keeping Brian Pillman away from the WWE Hall of Fame? # 9 years of talk wrestling. Isn't that scary? 9 years of this show? Yikes. No, I think it may have something to do with Melanie Pillman not wanting to have the spotlight be shown on her late husband again. I could be wrong there. I haven't talked to Melanie Pillman. I haven't seen anybody talk to Melanie Pillman about the Hall of Fame. But I think the gun segment was huge for both he and Austin. It was controversial, but like Eric Bischoff said, controversy creates cash. This is from Nerdy Q&A fan at @A_Aaron Rift. Aaron Rift. It's not really Aaron, but what can Raw and SmackDown Live do to make each other so different and unique from each other? I think the problem is they're going to add a tag division. They're going to add a women's championship, a women's championship, and they're going to have 2 mid-card titles. They're going to have they're going to have mid-card title and a world title on each show. They're exactly the same, just like they did during the original brand extension. So they need to have the world champion be on both shows. I've said this before. Tag champions be on both shows. Women's champion be on both shows. And that way the Intercontinental and the U.S. are seemingly distinct championships from the other. Have those be separate. And then have different rosters. Cruiserweights will be on Raw. Now let's have something else. The hardcore division be on SmackDown or vice versa. Something different. But they haven't been. So I'm not holding my breath to what's going to happen. Aaron, Nerdy Q&A fan. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to keep them as similar as possible so they make us choose. This is from Eric Cruz. Which Brock Lesnar do you prefer? 2002, 2004, or 2012 the present? 2002, 2004 was better in-ring performer and more well-rounded character. I actually like this Brock now. Brock Lesnar being well-rounded character was fine, but he had too much comedy to him. Lesnar's not fun anymore. He is a certified badass, and like Enzo and Cass always say, you can't teach that. Lesnar's just a beast, a jacked up genetic freak, and he is going to probably hurt Randy Orton this weekend. It's just as simple as that. And I like this Brock way better than I liked the early Brock Lesnar. He was good. This Brock is great. The last one today comes from Calvin Bowman at BowmanCalv7. Why did Sunny leave the WWF in 1998? It's been said that when she was released in July of 1998 that she was having problems with Sable backstage and that she may have been addicted to painkillers. And she also apparently no-showed several events around that time. So it could have been any one of those 3. They were going with Sable. She was going to be the girl. And so it could be any one of those things, really. All right. I mentioned on After the Bell that I would pick a question out of the run sheet and sign this copy of the run sheet to the best question and ship it to you guys. So I think my favorite question of the week was from, let's see, Mr. Yuck about the managers of ballets. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to sign it to you, Mr. Yuck. I will contact you once this show goes up and get your proper name so I can sign it to you accordingly. That's going to do it for this week on Talk Wrestling. Don't forget to watch SummerSlam live this weekend on pay-per-view and, of course, WWE Network. NoDQ.com have all your coverage of SummerSlam, play-by-play, step-by-step, and we'll probably have a No Q&A post-show from Aaron after the show. So we will see you guys then. Until then, this is Jeff Meacham saying good night.